All right. Hello, guys. So this video is to help with the Thursday Desmos. It's reviewing adding fractions and decimals. So on Thursday, we'll do 1 through 5, and then on Friday, we will do 6 through 9. It should be all review. These are going to be all positive fractions. There's nothing new that I'm teaching you. It's just review of something you should have practiced in 5th and 6th grade. So you'll click on the Desmos link, and the first question looks like this. In class, while you were waiting, you could have clicked on this link and created some fractions that equal 3/4. If you don't have Flash Player or it's not updated, that's okay. There was nothing you had to submit on this one. It was just while you were waiting in class. So this one has nothing that you have to submit. You'll click next to number 2. Number 2 says determine the answer for each addition problem. You can draw on the question if you wish. Write the answer in the simplest form you know. So if it's improper, try to turn it into a mixed number. Right here, you'll see that it will tell you when your fractions are correct for problem 1, 2, and 3. And then in the table, when the answer is correct, it will tell you in the table as well. If you need a review, how to add common denominators, there's a video here. So for number 1, the way you're going to do this is the shaded number of boxes is going to be your numerator. So there's 4 shaded boxes, so that will be your top number. And then on the bottom, you'll notice that there's these little lines. Those are there so that you can count how many there are in total. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes in total. And so this would be 4 shaded out of 5. So this fraction for number 1 would be 4/5. So you'll notice on this one, there's 5 shaded. And then if you use the bottom boxes, you can count and see that there's 10. So that's why there's little lines on the bottom. That's so you can count the total number of boxes. So this is the first fraction, and then it says plus, and then this is the second fraction. So you're going to turn those fraction pictures into numbers. So 4/5. Remember, when you're typing it in your table, you got to use the slash tool, the slash button in your keyboard. So 4/5. So the slash button on your keyboard. So over here, I would type 4/5 for the first one. The next one is 3 out of 5. And then it will tell you that your fractions are correct and you're ready to add them. So this one would be 2 out of the total of 3. This one would be 2 out of 3. And so you would just write that on here. Once you have all your fractions, because you've got them from the picture, it says answer. So you're going to add them together because there's a plus right here. Just a reminder, when you have a common denominator, so if the bottom number is the same, then you're allowed to add them, but you can only add the top. So for instance, 4/5 plus 3/5, I can only add the top. So 4 plus 3 is 7. I would use the slash key, and then I don't add the denominator. So this is not 10. I do not add the denominator. I only keep it the same. So 4/5 plus 3/5 is 7/5. This is improper. Since the top number is bigger than the bottom, this is improper. So another way that you should practice writing is 5 goes into 7 one time. So there's one group of 5. Oops. There's one group of 5 in this 7. So right here in the front, I'm going to click and put a 1. And once I take that 5 out of the 7, I'm left with 2. So another way that you could write your fraction more properly is to turn it into a mixed number. So I can take one group of 5 out of the 7, and then there's 2 left over. So you're going to add your fractions, and you're going to put your answers here. If you have all green check marks, you are good to go. For number 3, you're going to practice adding the fractions. Put it in the simplest form you know. Again, you have that video. So for all of these, they're going to have common denominators. So all you have to do is keep the bottom the same and add the top. And then you should practice turning your improper fractions into mixed numbers. So for instance, this is 3 plus 7, and then I keep it out of 8. I do not add the bottom. I never add the bottom. So 10/8, I can put it in number 4 as 10/8, but I should try to practice, since the top number is bigger, I should practice making it a mixed number. So one group of 8 comes out of this with 2 left over. So I could write 1 space 2/8. I can actually reduce this even more to 1 1/4, but just try to practice at least turning them into mixed numbers instead of improper. But if you're stuck, you can just leave them as improper. As long as you have all green check marks, you are good to go. So when the bottom number is the same, I just add the top and keep the bottom the same. All right, so for number 4, now we're going to look at when they don't have common denominators, because they won't always have common denominators. So again, you're going to count. There's 2 shaded out of 3 boxes in total, so this would be 2/3. 1 box shaded, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces in total. So over here, you would write 2/3 and 1/6. So first, I would recommend finding the fractions. It will tell you when they're correct, so make sure they're correct before you try to add them. So shaded number is the number on top, so this would be 3. And then the total number of pieces would be the bottom number, which would be 8 for this one. And then this would be 1, and there's 4 in total. So you would do that for each one. Now for this one, they do not have a common denominator. So I cannot add them unless they have a common number of pieces, because one of these pieces is bigger than this piece. So I can only add them when I have a common denominator. The easiest way to find a common denominator is if I can turn one of the bottom numbers into the other with multiplication. That would be the easiest, because then I only have to change one fraction. If I can't change one of them into the other, then I'd have to multiply them until they have the same bottom number. And there's lots of different ways to do that as well. So for this one, I can turn 3 into 6. I just got to multiply by 2. But whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top, or you may think of it as like the big 1. So I got to multiply them both by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So your goal is to get the bottom number the same, but you have to multiply the top as well. So now I have 4 6 plus 1 6. So now I can add them and put my answer over here. You can also see this in the picture. So if I cut my thirds into 2 pieces, so when I multiply by 2, what I'm really doing is cutting my thirds into 2 pieces. Once I do that, now I have 6 pieces and 4 of them are shaded. So I got 4 out of 6. So multiplying by 2 is like I cut all my pieces into 2s. So that's just a way to visually see it. It's like if I cut these into 2s, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded out of 6. And then I would just add them. So I have 4 plus 1, that's 5. And then there's still 6 pieces. So that's what you're going to do for each of these. So we have an 8 and a 4. You can turn 4 into 8. For the last one, we have 1/2 and 1/3. I can't turn 2 into 3, and I can't turn 3 into 2. But I can turn them both into 6. So you'll notice if I multiply 2 by 3, I get 6. And if I multiply 3 by 2, I get 6. And so, but whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. So it has to be the same. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. So instead of 1/2 plus 1/3, I'm going to add 3/6 plus 2/6. So now I can add them because they have the bottom number the same. So 3/6 plus 2/6. I can also see this in my picture. Since I was multiplying by 3, it's like I was cutting these pieces into 3s. Oh, you cannot see that color. Made a different color. So it's like I was cutting my halves into 3 pieces. And over here, I was multiplying by 2. It was like I was cutting my thirds into, 2 pieces. So notice I turned them into sixths. And now 2 of them are shaded, which is this 2 right here, and 3 of them are shaded, which is this 3 right here. So if you ever get stuck in finding a common denominator, you can always draw a picture. So I think that's really cool. So you'll finish this table. These are the fractions, the first fraction, second fraction, and then these are your answers when you add them. If you need a review again on finding the common denominator when they're different, there's a video. Number 5 was your homework. So you needed to add them. Without a calculator, you need to practice by hand because you won't always have a calculator. For number 1, they don't have a common denominator, but one common denominator could be 10, right? Because I can multiply 5 by 2 and get 10, and I can multiply 2 by 5. So I could turn them both into fractions out of 10. For number 2, I can turn 2 into 6. I just have to multiply by 3. So this one, I only have to change one fraction, right? So if I multiply them both by 3, I get 3 out of 6. I get 3/6. So for this one, I only had to change one of them. So instead of 1/2, I could write 3/6. For the next one, I can't turn 4 into 3 and I can't turn 3 into 4, but I could multiply them by each other. So 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 4 is 12. So I could turn them both into 12 by multiplying them by the other, right? Because 4 times 3 is 12. So I'd multiply 2 by 3. And then 3 times 4 is 12. So I'd multiply 1 by 4. So I can multiply this, both of them by 3. And then I can multiply this one both by 4. For number 4, I can't turn 5 into 3 and I can't turn 3 into 5, but I could turn them both into 15, right? Because 5, multiply this fraction by 3 out of 3. And so I'd get it out of 15. And then you'd multiply this fraction by 5 out of 5. So multiply by 5 out of 5. Oops, my little cursor is not. So I'm going to multiply by 5 out of 5. There we go. All right, and then again, feel free to pause this video at any time. That's the beauty of watching a video. All right. And so those ones, a little hint would be you can make them both out of 15. For number 5, one thing I noticed is 4/8 is the same as 1/2. So if I turn this into a half, well, once it's a half, I can turn 1/2 into 12ths, right? Because if I multiply 2 by 6, I'll get 12. So instead of 1/2, I could even change it into 6/12ths by multiplying both of them by 6. So once I do that, I have a common denominator and I can add. So 3/2 plus 6/2, I can now add. Okay then, and for the last one, these are kind of very different. So what I could do is I can definitely multiply both of these by 12 and multiply both of these by 15. I would get a really big number. A little hint, I would look for a number that 12 can multiply to that has a 0 at the end, what comes to my mind is 60. So I can turn 12 into 60, and I can also turn 15 into 60, because if you think about it, 15 is like kind of like minutes, and there's 4 of these in an hour. So you can multiply both of these by 4 and you'll get a number out of 60. And then for 12, you would multiply both of these fractions by 5 and you would get a number out of 60. So if you are stuck on number 6, you can think of it like that. And then you would just add the numerators, keep the bottom the same. You're going to put your answers here. Once you have all green check marks, you are good to go. We will finish 6 through 9 tomorrow. Again, this is a review of fractions, so if you are a little shaky on it, I would watch these videos as well, because knowing how to add fractions will be important. All right, and then when you're done, you can turn it in for 1 through 5, and we'll finish the rest tomorrow. Bye, guys.